I this raised his hands and felt his body that had recovered from all injuries in a daze. Thinking back to the heavy injuries that almost caused his death, the strong contrast made his whole heart feel a strong shock. Shocking. Not only him, but Hamilton on the side was also completely stunned, looking at Jason with wide eyes. "Is this the 9th level elixir master?" he murmured, his eyes full of shock. "Master Jason, thank you for your life-saving grace. Will never forget it. If Master has anything to do in the future, just ask, will never shirk the responsibility." In shock, deeply bowed down to Jason. "It doesn't matter. The Salem Empire and our spiritual medicine master tower share the same enemy and rescue each other. This is what we should do. Lord Emu doesn't need to take it to heart." Faced with Emu's gratitude, Jason lifted him up and said calmly, "Laugh out loud. Okay, let's set off again." After letting Wayne and the others rest for a while on the spot, with their injuries basically unharmed, Jason shouted in a low voice. Immediately, a group of 4 people flew up again, heading towards the central area. The location flew away quickly. Huh. The wild and sharp cold wind blew on everyone's faces. Jason and others moved forward in the battlefield of the gods, monotonous and dangerous. However, in this peripheral area, Jason and others are not without gains. Although there are no extremely rare things such as fragments of gods in this peripheral area, there are some elixirs that are extremely rare in the Stern continent, growing in some places. Spiritual wood, and various rare ores. These things were all picked up by Jason one by one. Of course, most of the places with treasures were occupied by powerful spiritual beasts. However, with the strength of Jason and the others, they were cautious all the way, and there were only a few surprises. Time passed day by day. After absorbing Alfredson's wood element law pillar, also recovered all his strength in these days and returned to the 9th level intermediate level. This time, the life and death crisis was even more. It gave him an extraordinary understanding of his state of mind, coupled with Alfredson's understanding of the laws of the wood system, which was slightly different from his. The two merged. In this way, returned to the 9th level intermediate level. After that, his strength actually made a breakthrough on the original basis and reached the peak of the intermediate level, which was a blessing in disguise. Sensing the direction in which the pressure was coming, Jason and the others moved forward. Finally, after the 4 of them had been flying for half a month, a transparent film with soft light suddenly appeared in front of them. Behind the film, looking from a distance, a black mountain loomed at the end of the line of sight. Is the central area behind this film? A faint terrifying pressure could be heard faintly from behind the film, as Jason and the others stared ahead and murmured, "Let's go." Jason shouted, taking the lead and entering the membrane, while the 3 Waynes followed closely behind him and flew in. Boom! Suddenly, a powerful pressure suddenly enveloped Jason and the others after they penetrated the membrane. The powerful pressure was like a mountain, pressing on the 4 Jasons. The powerful aura spread, Jason was caught off guard and his body was shaken. As for the 3 Waynes, they were even more unbearable and almost fell from the air. Buzz! Jason stabilized his body, the 4 spiritual beads in his body rotated, and the black strange power slowly flowed, completely expelling this powerful pressure from his body. What a terrifying pressure, like it's definitely at the level of divine power, Jason murmured, his eyes full of solemnity. He had once been to the Jintong Palace of God-killing Nadim and obtained the God of War Tower. Naturally, knowing the nature of the divine power, although this divine power that enveloped the entire world was not as terrifying as what the ancient God of War gave him in the ruins of the God of War, it was almost a disaster for an ordinary 9th level Holy Spirit Master. The powerful pressure always enveloped them, just like adding a layer of shackles to their bodies, making it difficult for the spiritual power in their bodies to operate, and the power they could explode was greatly reduced. If we say that Wayne and the others were originally able to explode 10 layers in terms of combat power, under this divine power, it can only release about 8 levels now. But the concentration of the spirit 20 element here is really unbelievable. It is 50 times that of the outside world, and the speed of law realization is like. However, the next discovery shocked Jason even more. In the outside world, in the stern continent, once the concentration of the Ling 20 element reaches several times the normal value, there will be obvious visual and sensory effects. If it reaches 10 times the external limit, the entire world will be transformed into layers. The spirit 20 element of the mist is shrouded, but the central area looks refreshing and boundless at first glance. However, Jason and the others can clearly feel that every cell in the body absorbs the spirit 20 element with just a breath. It was about 50 times that of stern continent, which completely shocked everyone. 50 times, what is this concept? This is equivalent to the fact that if a spiritual master continuously absorbs 20 spiritual elements for a year, the amount of spiritual power stored in the outside world can only be achieved by absorbing it for a full 50 years. But this is nothing. The amount of spiritual 20 elements absorbed by each spiritual master is huge. The high concentration of spiritual power can only allow the spiritual masters to fight without worrying about the depletion of spiritual power in the body. What surprised Jason and the others even more was the understanding of the laws in this void. The perception of the laws in this central area is much clearer than that of the outside world. When spiritual masters comprehend the laws in the outside world, they need to do their best to sense a trace of the mystery of the laws from the endless void, and it is still extremely vague and weak. If so, then here, the light of law shines clearly in Jason's perception. That clear feeling is like a person with thousands of degrees of myopia suddenly equipped with eyes, showing a completely different world emerged. Just for the moment when Wayne and the others entered the central area, some people who were originally in the outside world felt ambiguous and seemed to be comprehending, but they were always covered with a thin veil and could not see clearly. However, they suddenly understood the rules thoroughly. The room suddenly opened up, as if a portal had opened above the head, and the light of wisdom rushed out, like an enlightenment, extremely transparent. It's incredible. If you practice in a place like this, even an idiot can achieve extremely high achievements. Im and others sighed excitedly. Such a strong power of law. Jason also murmured, and a glimmer of light suddenly flashed in his eyes. Boom! Suddenly, Jason stretched out his hands suddenly, and a terrifying breath was released from his body. Jason's hands were like two big millstones, using the sky and the earth as containers, aiming at the void in front of him fiercely. Crush hard and refine. The refining technique of heaven and earth, the law of refining. Jason roared in his heart. Two divine rainbows shot towards the sky from his eyes. His hands violently clasped toward the void, trying to capture something from the chaos. Boom! The terrible pressure shook the 9 heavens and 10 places. As Jason's terrifying aura dissipated, Wayne and others were shaken one by one. Unable to withstand the pressure, they all stepped back more than 10 feet. Oh! Under Jason's strong capture, colorful ribbons suddenly appeared in the void in front of him. On these ribbons, dazzling rays of various colors bloomed, like aurora ribbons, containing incomparable mysteries. It's like Wayne and others' eyes suddenly widened. These aurora belts are the laws of various attributes hidden in the world. If the laws hidden in the void on Stern Continent are small fishes, then the laws hidden in the void in the Central Day domain are sharks. 2. There are essential differences whether they are qualitative or quantitative. The 5 elements of spiritual power in Jason's body are running wildly, trying to extract these attribute laws, but these ribbons representing the attribute laws are just flowing, but cannot be extracted from them. Come out! Jason roared abruptly. The strange black power in his body flowed rapidly, and he used the heaven and earth refining technique to the extreme, but he still couldn't succeed. Bang! Just when Jason was about to exert force again, a powerful counterattack force suddenly shot out from the void, knocking Jason away and ending the refining. Why can't this be refined? Is it because my attainments in the heaven and earth refining technique are not enough? Jason's figure paused in the void, his brows furrowed. It has been a year since Jason completed the heaven and earth refining technique. According to Jason's perception, when he was in Stern Continent, refining the rules from the void was like catching a fish in the water. Although it was difficult, he still wanted to catch the fish, but it is not difficult. However, in this central area, it is like catching a fish through a layer of glass. Although the fish is clearly visible, it cannot be touched at all. It seems that my strength is not enough. This layer of glass is the void in the battlefield of the gods. Only when I can break the void in the battlefield of the gods can I directly extract the law. Jason thought silently in his heart, and he also understood that the small fish is easy to catch, but it is difficult to subdue the shark. Even if he can break the void, he will need extremely strong strength to really catch these. The power of law comes. Jason, you just in the distance, Wayne and others stepped forward again, wondering. It's nothing. Jason shook his head, and then his eyes became a little solemn. Everyone, Mr. Brott said that starting from the central area, there are fragments of God's rules. Let's start looking for them. But equally, the dangers in this central area, the temperature must be much higher than that of the outer area. Everyone must be careful, and it is best not to leave 100 feet away from me. Don't worry, Jason, we understand. Wayne and the others all nodded. With their strength, they felt extremely dangerous in the peripheral area. In the central area, they had to be even more cautious. Otherwise, if they were not careful, they would most likely fall. "Ah, that's good." Jason nodded, and before he could finish speaking, boom. In the distance, a blue ray of light suddenly rose into the sky, and the terrifying aura spread instantly, reaching Jason and the others. What? Jason and the others looked far away and saw in the distance blue rays of light rising from the ground and towering into the sky. In the blue rays of light, there were powerful auras flowing, and this, although the aura is powerful, it is not aggressive. It carries terrifying divine power and is transmitted into the minds of Jason and the others. This is law. Jason and the others looked at each other with tears in their eyes. There was a hint of surprise. Could it be a fragment of the divine law? Let's go. The next moment, Jason said coldly, and the 4 people instantly turned into 4 streams of light, flying towards the blue glow. Whoosh! 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 In the central area, a strong wind that could almost tear apart an 8th-level Emperor spiritual master was blowing on Jason and the others. However, the 4 Jasons were all filled with joy from the blue glow that had passed before. Judging from the breath coming out, the blue glow is probably the legendary fragment of the god. As soon as they arrived in the central area, the fragment of the god was born, which made Jason and the 4 of them happy. Phew! Under the rapid flyby of the 4 Jasons, a moment later, everyone arrived at the place where the blue glow appeared. This is a swamp-like area, with a lot of silt and puddles on the ground. In this battlefield of the gods, there are various geological conditions, such as gobi, rivers, basins, sand, forests, and swamps. They are extremely weird. Jason and the others have spent nearly half a month in the outer area, and they are no longer surprised. In a puddle in this swamp, streaks of bright blue light slowly bloomed from it. The puddle surged, and suddenly a blue fragment rose into the sky. This was a fragment about the size of a little finger, all blue, with mysterious and profound runes constantly flowing on it, containing the aura of the Great Road, and a faint divine power diffusing from it. This blue fragment is suspended several meters above the swamp. It bloomed with the most brilliant light. It is indeed a fragment of the god. The 4 Jasons suppressed the excitement in their hearts and moved forward slowly, ready to put the fragment of the god's law into their hands. At this moment, it's better to retreat quickly. Jason seemed to feel something, and suddenly he roared. Boom! As he roared, the swamp suddenly burst open, and a spiritual beast exuding a terrifying aura rushed out of the swamp. It was a snake-like spiritual beast that was more than 10 feet long, covered with dense black scales, and a pair of bloodthirsty eyes glanced directly at the blue fragments. On its head was a single blue horn, which turned out to be the legendary dragon. Roar. As soon as the dragon appeared, it let out a huge roar, opened its bloody mouth, and swallowed the blue fragment of the divine rule in one mouthful. The fragment of the divine rule was swallowed. The faces of Jason and the others suddenly became extremely ugly, and after the dragon swallowed the fragments of the god's rule, a pair of blood-red bloodthirsty eyes stared at the four Jasons. Roar. The black centipede roared and instantly turned into a bolt of lightning, rushing towards the four Jasons. No, Wayne, please retreat. Jason suddenly let out an angry roar. The aura on this black dragon was extremely strong. It was much stronger than any spiritual beast they encountered in the outer area. Even Jason could feel it. A hint of crisis, let alone Wayne and the others. Get away. Jason roared angrily, but did not retreat because he knew that once he retreated, Wayne and the others would be finished. The black épée in his hand instantly turned into a black angry dragon, and slashed towards the black dragon. Pung! A sword containing terrifying power struck the black dragon's head directly, making a low-impact sound. With Jason's current strength, with all his strength, even a 9th-level high-level Holy Spirit Master would have to retreat, but the head of the black dragon was only knocked down by 1 foot, and the black dragon stopped falling. What? Jason was surprised. Monster, this is definitely a monster. One of my swords can chop down a mountain, but this black dragon has no scars at all, and its head only droops slightly, and it can take away the power of my sword. Incredible. Jason knew very well how terrifying his attack was, and because of this knowledge, Jason felt the terror of the black dragon even more. The black dragon roared strangely and stared at Jason above, but his thick tail it swept towards the 3 Waynes like lightning. Get out of the way, get out of the way. Jason's expression suddenly changed. The black dragon's tail was swinging too fast. Even Jason couldn't come to the rescue for a while. He had to roar and strike at the black dragon again with his sword. Go. Open it for me. Jason spoke with spring thunder and tried his best, but the speed of the huge dragon tail was too fast. The moment Jason launched the attack, it had already arrived in front of the 3 Hamiltons who looked frightened. Wind element secret, the 13 swords of overlapping shadows. Molyu Holy Spirit's power brings spring to all trees. Hamilton and him roared at the same time, aiming at the terrifying dragon tail and launching their most powerful attacks. Boom! In an instant, sword shadows all over the sky suddenly appeared in the void. These sword shadows were like waves overlapping one by one, rolling in, and hitting the dragon's tail like lightning. At the same time, thick giant trees were hollowed out. The shadow appeared in the void and stood in front of the 3 of Emu, trying to resist the attack of the black dragon. Chong! 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 The sound of the collision of gold and iron echoed in the void. The 13 overlapping shadow swords displayed by Hamilton struck the black dragon tail, as if nails hit the iron pillar, and were thrown away one after another. They were not on it at all. Leaving the slightest scar, the next moment, a rumbling roar sounded, and the countless giant wood shadows cast by him also exploded under the sweep of the dragon's tail. Countless wood chips scattered in all directions, and then turned into wood-type spiritual power. Dissipated in the wind. The strongest attacks launched by Hamilton and him didn't bring any hindrance to the black dragon at all, and it was blasted away in an instant. Ghost Hamilton and him's faces were pale, and their eyes were pale. There was fear in his eyes. One of the highest secrets of the ice system, the frozen world. At this moment, a loud shout sounded, and Wayne held the Dream Spirit sword and thrust out with one sword. Who? Countless snowflakes suddenly floated between the sky and the earth, and the extremely cold air of ice shot out from the Dream Spirit sword in Wayne's hand and hit the tail of the black dragon. Kaka! The black dragon's tail was quickly covered with a large amount of ice, and it was completely frozen into a thick icicle. It's done. Hamilton and him looked happy in their eyes. However, before they could breathe a sigh of relief, countless cracks suddenly appeared on the icicles on the dragon's tail, and the crackling sound of the ice layer was heard. Countless ice cubes exploded with a bang, and the black dragon tail barely paused and swept directly on Hamilton, and Wayne. Poof! Hamilton, and Wayne were thrown out at once. Blood spurted out from the mouths of Hamilton and Their robes were torn to pieces, their skin was shattered, and blood was sprayed everywhere. With blood, he completely lost his fighting power and fell heavily to the ground. Only Wayne was better, but blood also overflowed from the corners of his mouth. The black dragon wanted to continue attacking, but Jason's heavy sword had already hit its head hard. Boom! A deafening roar sounded. This time, the black dragon was not so lucky. With the sword that contained Jason's full blow, his huge body was thrown away, rolling in the void, and he roared. "Wayne, are you okay?" Jason asked with concern. "I'm fine, but Hamilton and him are probably hurting Lee a little bit seriously," Wayne said. "Take the two of them and retreat first." Jason held a black heavy sword and looked solemnly at the black dragon, saying nervously without looking back. Although his previous blow had knocked the black dragon flying, Jason had already seen that there was only a faint white mark on the scales on the black dragon's head. His sword had no trace at all. After breaking through the black dragon's defense, not a trace of blood flowed out from the black dragon. Okay. Under such circumstances, Wayne didn't waste any words. Knowing that he would only be a burden if he stayed, he immediately took Hamilton and retreated far away. Roar! In the void, the black dragon roared twice, its bloodthirsty eyes staring at Jason, its voice full of anger. It was obvious that it had been completely angered by Jason's previous actions. The next moment, its huge body rolled and rushed towards Jason. Well done! Without the restraints of Wayne and the others here, Jason's nervousness suddenly relaxed a lot. His eyes boiled with fighting spirit, and with a roar in his mouth, he also rushed forward. Boom! 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 In an instant, Jason and the black dragon fought fiercely together. The strong spiritual power shook the world, and the terrifying power spread, destroying everything tangible and intangible around him. Substance. This black dragon is an unknown alien species. Its body strength is extremely high, almost comparable to that of a 9th-level peak Holy Spirit Master. It is invulnerable to swords. Every surge contains the mysteries of the law of water, the trajectory and secrets of the Great Road, and is elusive, and Jason is not weak either. He is covered in black armor, and his physical strength has reached the peak of the 9th level. He is also extremely powerful. The black heavy sword in his hand is even more mysterious. He strikes out with one sword, as fast as lightning, avoiding the enemy. There is no way around it. At this moment, both sides used their full strength. Jason also used his water space and forbidden spirit domain, locking the opponent firmly and making it difficult for him to move. However, the black dragon is too powerful. As a spiritual beast, it has rough skin and thick flesh, which is essentially different from the spiritual master. No, if this continues, no one can do anything to anyone. During the battle, Jason's eyes narrowed, and he had already made a decision in his heart. Facing this powerful black dragon, Jason, who knew that if he only acted like this, it would be impossible to win, suddenly made up his mind. Who? A blue light suddenly shot out from between his eyebrows. At the same time, tall pagodas shot out from it. The blue pagodas exuded endless terrifying aura and directly hit the head of the black dragon. Superior. Bang! A huge roar sounded. Under the bombardment of the God of War tower, the black dragon was thrown away at once, letting out a painful roar. At the place where it was hit by the God of War tower, some scales were broken and blood flowed from it. It seeped down and splashed to the ground. The God of War tower is an artifact forged by the ancient sky and sea God of War. It is extremely powerful. After possessing it for such a long time, Jason has been studying and practicing for more than a year, and finally has many of the functions of the God of War tower. After it was developed, and with the improvement of Jason's strength and formation attainments, Jason was able to activate 1,000th of the countless large formations in the God of War tower, which was so powerful that it was heaven-defying. In the void, the God of War tower trembled, and the blue light dissipated, revealing an astonishing pressure, aiming at the black dragon and suppressing it fiercely. Boom! 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 A deafening roar sounded. Under the strong suppression of the God of War tower, dense cracks suddenly appeared on the scales of the black dragon, and they continued to crack. Blood splattered. Roar! Seeing that he could not attack Jason, and was beaten all over by the God of War tower, the black dragon roared in pain, its bloodthirsty eyes stared coldly at the God of War tower, and its mouth opened wide. Huh! A blue cold current that was extremely cold spewed out from the body of the black dragon and washed directly on the God of War tower. This cold current was so terrifying that the virtual banquet was frozen by ice. On the God of War tower, quickly climbed up a layer of ice. With such a terrifying cold air, even a 9th-level advanced Holy Spirit Master would probably freeze into popsicles once he was hit. The black dragon roared proudly and rushed directly towards Jason. Boom! At this moment, an unparalleled terrifying pressure suddenly erupted from the God of War tower. The blue blazing light surged. During the tremor, the ice on its surface burst into pieces, turning into powder all over the sky. In this 10,000th of an instant, the God of War tower turned into a blue stream of light and directly hit the black dragon's head. Bang! After this blow, the black dragon suddenly let out a shocking roar of pain. Its whole body rolled in the void like a rolling gourd, slamming into the swamp, scratching in the swamp, smashing. A huge pit emerged, and it coughed out blood from its bloody mouth, with a hint of retreat in its eyes. However, at this moment, boom! A monstrous energy spurted out from not far away, and the terrifying pressure shocked the 9 heavens and 10 places. This pressure was so terrifying that the black dragon felt it deep in his heart. Trembling incomparably, it raised its head in horror, and saw not far away, a blue figure exuding endless aura, standing proudly behind the black-haired young man in front of Lizzie and fighting, like a god standing proudly in the void, bring endless majesty. The eyes of the candid figure opened instantly. Stupid! The bright blue light shot through the sky, and a terrifying force was instantly released from Jason's body. When the God of War tower bombarded the black dragon before, Jason was constantly activating the God of War art in his body to display his strongest moves. The art of the God of War is possessed by the God of War. A cold voice resounded throughout the world, and the blue shadow of the God of War instantly enveloped Jason. For a moment, Jason seemed to be wearing a layer of blue armor. Under the helmet, a divine rainbow bloomed in the black pupils. At this moment, Jason seemed to have turned into the God of War. Like the fighting spirit pouring down from the 9 heavens galaxy, he was wreaking havoc and destroying the world. Under the possession of the God of War, Jason's eyes bloomed with divine light, and the black épée in his opponent's hand struck directly at the black dragon. Roar! Feeling the terrifying aura, the black dragon instinctively felt the threat of death in its heart. It roared, and countless blue light rainbows suddenly bloomed from its body. These blue light rainbows continued to flow and finally converged on it. Endless brilliance rose from the blue horn above his head, and a blue aurora burst out from the blue horn above the black dragon's head, rushing toward Jason like lightning. At the same time, after unleashing its strongest attack, the black dragon plunged directly into the swamp, trying to escape. Want to leave L in the void, Jason was invincible, his eyes bloomed with brilliance, all the spiritual power in his body surged, and he struck hard on the blue rainbow with a sword. Bang! Under the powerful amplitude of the God of War's possession, Jason smashed the blue aurora into pieces with one sword. The black heavy sword containing terrifying spiritual power fell on the huge body of the black dragon. Superior. Buzz. The terrifying spiritual power, like a wave, was transmitted into the black dragon's body. The black dragon's body did not pop up from the mud. Its eyes were filled with fear. It opened its bloody mouth and let out a silent roar. The next moment, pong! There was no suspense. The entire body of the black dragon exploded in an instant. Everything, including its head, body, and limbs, turned into fragments and blood mist that filled the sky. Chi! Chi! 3 blue rainbows of light rushed out from the body of the black dragon. Jason stretched out his big hand and instantly captured the 3 rainbows of light. Among these 3 blue light rainbows, the largest one is as thick as a baby's arm. It is the blue horn of the black dragon. It was not broken by Jason's attack, but the other 2 are too shining with divinity. Fragments of the glorious god. One of them is about the size of a fingernail, and it is the fragment of the god that the black dragon swallowed before. The other piece is also about the size of a fingernail, but it does not appear like a normal fragment of the god. It is now an ellipse instead of a polygonal rhombus. Some of the divine aura and mysterious laws flowing on it are also blurred and weakened a lot. It is obvious that the one that the black dragon once swallowed is being refined, but the refining has not ended. The god is fragmented. Boom! After storing the 3 treasures in the God of War tower, Jason didn't hesitate at all. He aimed at the blood mist that filled the sky after the explosion of the black dragon, and instantly cast the heaven and earth refining technique. The powerful spirit 20 elements, like torrents of elements, wrapped the flesh and blood of the black dragon and then refined it fiercely. This black dragon is an unknown alien species. It is extremely powerful. It lives in this battlefield of gods and has absorbed fragments of divine laws. The power of laws contained in its body is absolutely extraordinary. Technological flow, spiritual consciousness flow, data flow, formation flow, the 4 major schools of spiritual medicine attainments were released to the extreme by Jason, and finally combined with the heaven and earth refining technique, they were completely released. Boom! Under Jason's terrifying attack, bursts of explosions erupted from the black dragon's flesh and blood, and a huge water law that was more than 10 feet long and extremely thick was extracted by Jason. This law is extremely thick and blue, with a strong aura of law flowing on it. It seems to be stronger than the pillar of law extracted from Daniel's body. Countless mysterious laws are flowing on its surface. These mysterious laws, the main body it is a water system, but on the periphery, there is another layer of mysterious ice system laws dissipating. What caught Jason's attention even more was that in addition to the law auras of the water and ice systems, there was also an invincible divine aura dispersing in this pillar of law. This kind of aura, like the ancient gods, was majestic and boundless and could not be desecrated. Obviously, it was the divine aura formed by refining the fragments of the divine law that the black dragon once swallowed. Jason. In the distance, Jason killed the black dragon, and Wayne took Hamilton with him. He and Emu flew forward when they led the way. Master Jason. After this period of training, Hamilton and Im have recovered from their injuries and are able to fly on their own. They are no longer as decadent as before, but their faces are still extremely pale. Obviously, there is no certain time. It is impossible to fully recover the cultivation of oneself. Wayne, you came just in time. Jason saw Wayne coming and immediately said, "Don't move, let go of your body. I will put the power of the black dragon's law into your body and give it to you." Refining. After saying this, Jason waved his hands repeatedly and used the heaven and earth refining technique again. The terrifying power washed away the thick law. Under Jason's refining, the originally thick pillar of law with a diameter of 1 foot continued to shrink, and finally became as thick as an adult's body, reduced by 2/3, but the aura of law within it became more condensed, and the various rules, runes, and mysteries were closely arranged together, emitting a bright light. As a spiritual beast, the laws controlled by the black dragon are slightly different from those of humans. The previous Jason refined all the animal laws in this pillar of laws, leaving only the purest power of the original laws, as well as the mysterious divine law obtained by the black dragon who once refined the fragments of the divine law. Boom! Jason pushed out with both hands and drove the pillar of law heavily into Wayne's body. Crackling. Chuanen's body suddenly erupted with a sound like a burning flame or a bamboo pole exploding. A terrible force was dormant in Wayne's body, and the tyrannical spiritual power spread out. If others saw it suddenly, inadvertently, one would think that Wayne had been promoted to the 9th level of Advanced Holy Spirit Master. Wayne, I have penetrated this divine law into your body. You should refine it. As for how much you can absorb, whether you can finally break through to the 9th level depends on your own destiny. Jason said out loud. Wayne stretched out his hands and felt the pillar of law lurking deep inside his body, and his eyes suddenly showed joy. Wayne could feel the power of the pillar of law in his body. The aura and mystery of the law contained in it were beyond the control of a 9th level intermediate Holy Spirit Master like him. Once it was completely refined, with his talent, there is at least a 70% certainty that he will be promoted to the 9th level from his current level. However, the aura of law and mystery contained in this pillar of law are so powerful that Wayne conservatively estimates that he may need to refine it day and night, and it will take at least several months to completely refine it. Okay, Wayne, Hamilton, all three of you, please take a rest. This central area is full of dangers. Once your injuries are almost recovered, we will continue our journey. Jason's spiritual sense scanned Hamilton, and immediately after seeing the two people seriously injured, Emu immediately spoke out. At this moment, a trace of hesitation suddenly flashed across the eyes of Hamilton and Finally, as if they had made up their minds, they looked at each other, and then looked at Jason again. Master Jason can't survive. You don't have to wait for us. Although the two of us are seriously injured, we have not completely lost our combat effectiveness. Hamilton and shook their heads and said, we have decided that we cannot follow Jason if we retreat to the outer area. Master, you are adventuring together in this central area. After the previous battle, Hamilton and completely ended the idea of continuing to adventure in the central area, although in this central area, fragments of the divine law can appear, allowing them to their strength has improved, but it is too dangerous. Just like the black dragon before, with the strength of the two of them, they cannot resist even one of its moves. If they continue to stay, they will only bring trouble to Jason, but put everyone in danger. In fact, with the strength of the two of them even in the outer area, there is a risk of death if they are not careful. Taking risks in the central area is really beyond their capabilities. Jason looked at the two of them, was silent for a moment and finally nodded, since you have decided, okay. Jason also knew that this central area was not suitable for the two of them. Jason, I have decided not to take risks in the central area. At this moment, Wayne on the side also suddenly spoke up. Huh? Jason couldn't help but frown and looked at Wayne in confusion. Wayne's strength was far superior to that of Hamilton and given Wayne's temperament, he was obviously not afraid of the dangers in the central area. His retreat made Jason wonder. Jason, Hamilton and are now seriously injured. Even if they retreat to the outer area, I'm afraid it's not safe. I need to stay with them. Moreover, after getting the secret of the law that you penetrated into my body before, I feel that as long as I refine and understand all the mysteries of these laws, I will have a great chance of advancing to the 9th level. The whole process may take several months. Therefore, during this period, I want to be quite safe. In the outer area, I need to refine the rules well, and wait until I advance to the 9th level, or wait until all the rules are refined, before entering the central area. Wayne explained that in fact, there is another most important reason. He said that the reason is that with his strength, although he can barely survive in the central area relying on Jason, his existence will also bring huge trouble and danger to Jason, making him unable to let go. Thus falling into danger. Just like this time, because there is only one dragon, Jason can completely resist it and kill it. If next time, several powerful spiritual beasts comparable to black dragons appear at the same time, with Jason's strength, even if he is not his opponent, he can fleeing from the battlefield, but if he was there, in order to save him, Jason might have no choice but to fight to the death and fall into despair. Wayne didn't want this to happen and chose to retreat temporarily. Then okay. Jason looked deeply at Wayne. With his observation skills, how could he not see Wayne's thoughts? However, he didn't say much, because this was also Jason's. Always considered it. In that case. Jason waved his hand, and the incomplete God's Code fragments were spit out from the God of War tower, and then Jason slammed them into Wayne's body. Wayne couldn't help but be stunned. This was a fragment of the God's Law. Even a 9th level peak Holy Spirit Master like Atkinson Tower Master needed it extremely, but Jason actually gave it to him directly. Nothing, I still have a complete one here. Jason waved his hand. With this broken fragment of the Divine Law, there should be no surprises when you advance to the 9th level of Advanced Holy Spirit Master. In addition, with the previous Law Jiju, you have enough to do for at least half a year. Now, I will send you back to the outer area. Okay. The 4 people turned into 4 streams of light and flew towards the place they came from before. A moment later, the 4 people appeared in front of the film again. After seeing the 3 Waynes returning to the other end of the film safely, Jason had just soared into the sky and turned into a stream of light, rushing towards the depths of the central area. Because he brought Hamilton, and others, Jason wasted a lot of time in the outer area. I believe that compared with the strength of Svam Tower Master and the others had already reached the depths of the central area before Jason arrived. After all, the deeper you go, the greater the chance of getting the fragments of the God's Law. No one would be willing to go there. How much time is wasted outside? While Jason and the others are adventuring in the battlefield of gods, the major forces on the Stern continent are now facing a huge crisis. In the central and southern part of the continent, this is an extremely magnificent city, like a mountain ridge, lying in the south of the mainland. The entire city is hundreds of feet high, and its entire body is dark. Looking from a distance, it looks like a terrifying and boundless wild beast lying there, giving it a suffocating sense of oppression. This city is the main city of Sin City, one of the 9 major forces in the mainland, and the headquarters of Sin City. At this moment, in a magnificent palace in the deepest part of the city, a dark man with short black horns on his head, he was sitting there, and below him, an old man wearing a red robe, who also had an astonishing aura, was kneeling there, trembling. This man was actually the deputy city lord left behind in the Sin City. Reese is a 9th level intermediate Holy Spirit Master. Sir, this is the mainland information you want. All of it is here. Facing the dark man, Reese trembled and handed over the jade slip in his hand. His trembling hands revealed the fear in his heart. It's the last. This swarthy man with short horns appeared from nowhere. Rice didn't know. Nearly a month after City Lord Scott left Sin City and went to the Spirit Beast Mountains to attend the god's birthday, he suddenly came to Sin City and took control of himself. As the Deputy City Lord of Reese's Sin City and a 9th level intermediate fire-type Holy Spirit Master, after discovering this mysterious powerhouse, he naturally would not let him be manipulated and resisted at first. However, to Reese's despair, with his 9th level intermediate strength, he was firmly controlled by this dark man after only a few encounters, without the slightest resistance. Such terrifying strength seemed to be stronger than Lord Scott of Sin City, which filled Reese's heart with fear. On today's continent, the leaders of all the major forces have gone to the Spiritual Beast Mountain Range. Faced with such a mysterious and powerful man, in order to save his life, Reese could only surrender to him and listen to his orders. Something that Reese didn't expect happened again. This mysterious powerful man firstly had no intention of controlling Sin City, and secondly, he didn't ask him for the treasures and secret skills in Sin City. Instead, he asked him for what Sin City possessed. All the historical records of Stern Continent over the past countless years made Rice confused. However, doubts were doubts, and Reese couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. After all, if this mysterious strong man asked him for the treasures of the entire Sin City, as the deputy city lord of Sin City, although he could freely enter and exit some important places, but in the most important places, he would not be able to set foot in the most important places without the orders of City Lord Scott. After learning about the other party's request, Reese immediately stored all the continent's history recorded in Sin City from the library of Sin City in this jade slip and handed it over to the hands of this mysterious strong man. In the main hall, after the dark man got the jade slip from Reese, his spiritual consciousness immediately spread out and penetrated into the jade slip, and he felt it carefully. Well, very good. Is this what your Sin City has preserved, all the continent's history and information? The dark man's voice was like rocks rolling in the valley, and it was extremely thick. His eyes were like sharp knives, staring coldly at Reese's face. That's all. This is all the information and history of the continent collected by my Sin City. Reese's body trembled and he spoke nervously. Very good. The dark man suddenly stood up. His 3-meter-tall body was like a Big Mac, covering Reese in his shadow. I don't know, sir, there are any other instructions? Reese said with a slightly trembling body. There are no more instructions. Remember, you must keep secret about my appearance. You must not let anyone know, even after your city lord returns from the Spirit Beast mountain range. If there is any leakage, wait until I know. I will definitely take your head. The dark man glanced at Reese indifferently and said coldly. Is this the end? Reese couldn't help but feel stunned, but soon there was a hint of joy. The villain obeys the order. The villain will definitely keep the news of the adult's appearance tight-lipped and will not leak a word. Reese was afraid of making a sound. That's good. The swarthy man nodded, stood up and walked past Reese, and then said boom. Without any warning, the swarthy man slapped Reese's head on the side. Roar. Although Reese was pleasantly surprised, he did not let go of his vigilance. After feeling the other party's actions, he ignored the shock and anger and roared loudly. Endless flames suddenly rose, and his figure fiercely pull it up and rush out of this hall. But it was useless. The swarthy man's palm was so fast that it was incredible. The moment Reese reacted, it had already landed on top of his head. Pung! Without any suspense, Reese had no resistance at all. He was directly shocked into powder, turned into nothingness, and completely dissipated. Reese's roar was also enveloped in the hall. Blocked by layers of yellow light, not a trace was transmitted. Who? The swarthy man waved his right hand, and a gust of wind blew through. The hall was empty, with nothing left, as if there was no other person at all before. The reaction is quite fast, but unfortunately, no matter how fast the reaction is, you can't escape my grasp. Only the dead will be tight-lipped and won't say anything. The dark man sneered, and his body shook. The void suddenly shattered, and he stepped into it. At the same time, with a pop sound, the void above the Sin City shattered, and a terrifying figure walked out. It was the dark man. His gaze penetrated the void and looked to the southwest of Sin City, where the territory of chaos was located. The next target is the chaos territory. Judging from the information in Sin City, the chaos territory should also be a quite powerful force. I don't know what kind of gains can be obtained from it. Dark black, the big man made an indifferent sound, and then his figure gradually disappeared and his horns were lost in the sky. The territory of chaos, the city of chaos. The sky is cloudless and clear, like a poor lake, giving people a relaxed and happy feeling. However, no one noticed that a strange wind blew suddenly in the sky, and a tiny figure suddenly appeared in the originally empty sky, looking indifferently at the chaotic city below. Hey, there are actually 3 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Masters in this city of chaos. It's incredible. After sensing the situation below, the black figure couldn't help but uttered a sound of surprise. One of the major forces, because of the birthday of the god, only has 1 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Master from Reese. Now, in this small territory of chaos, there are actually 3 ninth-level intermediate Holy Spirit Masters, which makes him unable to help. Surprised. No matter, among these 3 people, 2 have weak auras. Only the woman who is practicing in the yard is pretty good. She should be the leader of the chaos territory. Let's attack her. The black figure whispered. After exploring this territory of chaos, when I go to the Salem Empire again, I will complete Lord Gareth's mission. I don't know how the other people have completed their missions. It's a pity, because of the spiritual beast there may be god-level powerful people in the mountains, and we can only act in secret, otherwise, we can plunder the Stern Continent. The black shadow shook his head and said, and the figure gradually disappeared into the void. This black shadow was the swarthy man who had killed Reese in Sin City before. He was also one of the 2 Ninth Order Peak Holy Spirit Masters among the 5 remaining strong men who entered the Stern Continent from the God Realm that day. Profound. After the deaths of Longtua and Hadaway, they completely gave up the idea of entering the Spirit Beast Mountains. In order to complete the tasks assigned by several adults, under the arrangement of Gareth, the 5 of them divided into 5 groups and headed to this place respectively. The major forces in Turn Continent took advantage of the opportunity of the leaders of the major forces to attend the god's birthday to gather information. And this Theo is the strong man in charge of the southern part of the continent. Now, he has set his target on the territory of chaos in a courtyard of the Kongsi family mansion. A woman wearing a blue spiritual master's robe was practicing with her eyes closed, absorbing the spiritual power of water and fire in the void. This woman has long blue hair, beautiful appearance, noble and dignified expression, and exudes an astonishing and terrifying aura. She is Jason's mother, Yulia. Boom! Suddenly, the void above the courtyard burst open silently, and an extremely terrifying aura of terror spewed out from it. The next moment, a huge black palm, like a mountain, came down from the sky, sealed the void in all directions, and grabbed Yulia hard. This black palm was extremely powerful and majestic. Wherever it went, the void condensed, imprisoning everything. The powerful spiritual power locked Yulia tightly, making it difficult for her to move. Huh? Just when the black palm was about to capture Yulia, who had been practicing with her eyes closed, suddenly opened her eyes, with trembling in her eyes. However, despite this, her expression did not change. Without the slightest panic, at this critical moment, powerful spiritual power spurted out from her body, and Yulia's body suddenly bloomed with 2 bright rays of light, one red and one green. The 2 rays of light blended and rotated with each other in the void, forming a special Tai Chi diagram met the black palm. Pung! The Tai Chi diagram collided with the black palm, making a huge roar. Yulia's body was thrown away. Her face was pale, and blood overflowed from the corner of her mouth. She had obviously been seriously injured. The powerful force caused the entire courtyard to be shattered and suffered a huge impact. A sound of surprise sounded in the courtyard. In the broken void, Theo walked out and looked at Yulia with surprise in his eyes. As a 9th-level peak Holy Spirit Master, he thrust out his palm, and even a 9th-level high-level Holy Spirit Master would have a hard time avoiding it. Now that he was actually resisted by a 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Master like Yulia, he couldn't help but feel. There was a hint of surprise. "Who is your excellency?" Yulia stared at Theo coldly with sharp eyes, full of surprise in her heart. After these days of hard training, she has touched the threshold of the 9th-level Senior Holy Spirit Master and is undergoing transformation. In addition, as a spiritual master of both water and fire elements, ordinary 9th-level Senior Holy Spirit Masters cannot hurt her at all. The opponent is obviously a 9th-level peak Holy Spirit Master. Didn't the 9th-level peak Holy Spirit Master, Atkinson Tower Master, and the others all go to the Spirit Beast Mountain range to attend the god's birthday? When did the Stern Continent gain such a powerful person? Yulia's heart trembled. Whoosh! Whoosh! The strange movement in the courtyard immediately woke up Archimedes and Loken, who were practicing in other rooms. After seeing this situation in the courtyard, their faces suddenly changed. Change. Huh. Theo looked at the two of them coldly, with a sneer on the corner of his mouth and a fierce look in his eyes. No, Archimedes, Loken, move quickly. On the other side, Yulia's eyes suddenly showed panic, and she let out a shrill roar. When Yulia screamed, Theo suddenly moved. His right hand was directed towards Archimedes and Loken as if he were grabbing something at will. However, with this ordinary grab, an unparalleled explosion broke out. Strength. Boom. A huge roar resounded throughout the world, and the void in front of Theo instantly shattered. A huge black palm emerged in the void. This black palm was several feet wide, and its entire body was pitch black. Countless mysteries and laws were circulating on its surface. A powerful force bloomed. The black palm containing terrifying power, like a rainbow penetrating the sun and a comet striking the moon, instantly appeared in front of Archimedes and Loken. One of the mysteries of the wood element is full of vitality. One of the mysteries of the earth element is absolute defense. Archimedes and Loken roared at the same time, and Loken's body surface suddenly bloomed with endless cyan light. The phantoms of the towering trees appeared around Loken. These towering trees exuded terrifying wood spiritual power. They were constantly swaying, and various cyan aurora bloomed wantonly. Finally, the long sword in Loken's hand it gathered together and turned into a thick blue beam of light, which rushed towards the giant black palm one by one. At the same time, Archimedes also had a rich earthy yellow light blooming on his body. The earth element in the air suddenly became violent, forming a huge black U mask in the void. The black U mask continued to condense, and unexpectedly it became an entity, flowing with the luster of jade, protecting both Archimedes and Loken behind. It's a small trick, Theo said with a sneer on his lips, his eyes full of disdain, and the big black hand he waved directly hit the cyan light beam released by Loken. Crack! The 20 elements of the wood spirit collapsed, and the overwhelming sound resounded. Theo's big black hand hit Loken's cyan light pillar, just like a giant steel hand moving at high speed hit a piece of wood. The wood exploded layer by layer, and sawdust scattered all over the sky. On the cyan light pillar, there were countless wood-type spirits. The force exploded and finally shattered. The black palm was unstoppable and once again grasped the black U shield evolved by Archimedes. As if the steel claws pinched an egg, Archimedes and Loken protected the black U shield in the center. Dense cracks appeared in an instant. Finally, there was an explosion with a bang, and countless black U fragments exploded in the surroundings. It shot out, pierced the void, and immediately turned into countless earth elemental spiritual powers, disappearing in the air. Pfft! Archimedes and Loken's bodies shook violently at the same time, and they retreated violently. Blood spurted from their mouths. Their robes were instantly broken, and wounds were opened on their bodies, and blood continued to flow from them. Splash! Go away! Just when the black palm was about to hit the two people and kill them, a loud shout rang out. Yuxioya arrived in time and slashed the giant black palm with a sword. Wow! A rainbow of light containing two different colors, cyan and red, instantly fell on the black palm. With a huge roar, the black palm was instantly repelled, and Yulia was far away. Throw it far away. Pfft! Another mouthful of blood spurted out from her mouth, and her body was shaky, almost falling from the sky. If it were any 9th level high-level Holy Spirit Master, Yulia would be able to resist it, but this Theo is a 9th level spiritual master. Even if Yulia is a peak Holy Spirit Master, she is no match for him no matter how defiant he is. Archimedes, Loken, you two hurry up to the cloud swamp. Yulia's eyes were cold, she struggled to steady her body, and shouted loudly. Want to leave? TSK TSK. Theo couldn't help but sneer and cast his gaze on Yulia. You, a 9th level intermediate Holy Spirit Master, were able to block my attacks twice. Not bad, but you also provoked. If you make me angry, then let me show you the true strength of my Theo. Theo sneered, once again being outrageous. Boom. The monstrous earth spirit 20 elements in the void boiled, and a huge black palm formed again. The size of this black palm was not much different from the previous one, but the mystery of the earth element flowing on it was even deeper. The densely packed earth runes flowed on the surface, exuding the pressure of the avenue, which was almost suffocating. The black palm trembled, and the void exploded layer by layer, directly covering Yulia. Ah! Under this terrifying force, Yulia felt that her whole body was completely imprisoned, and she could not move at all. The overwhelming pressure came, making it difficult for Yulia to breathe. The skin is about to burst. No matter how talented she is only an intermediate 9th level Holy Spirit Master, so how can Theo, who is a peak 9th level Holy Spirit Master, care about her? The black giant palm quickly grew in size in front of Yulia, and directly pressed down. Lord Yulia! Archimedes and Loken both screamed, with anger on their faces. They wanted to rush forward to rescue, but the constantly rolling earth elemental spiritual power made them both. There was no way to get close to the center of the battle. Reno, Jason, Yulia looked at the black palm that was getting bigger and bigger and was about to hit her, and 2 drops of clear tears fell from the corners of her eyes. At this moment, facing a life-and-death crisis, what Yulia was thinking about was that she had not been able to see her husband Reno and son Jason for the last time. At this critical moment, a sudden roar. A startling roar resounded throughout the world, and a golden stream of light flew from a distance like a meteor, and the spiritual power in the entire sky seemed to be violent in an instant. A golden sword rainbow seemed to burst out from the depths of the endless universe, blooming with a blazing light that almost covered everything. The supreme secret of the metal element, the endless sword. Boom! The overwhelming gold spiritual power boiled, and in the endless golden light, a sword rainbow surged out like a scorching sun, instantly spanning the distance of countless spaces, and directly slashed cut on the huge black palm. Bang! It was like a giant metal sword slashing down a clay sculpture carved from sand. The black palm exploded under the chop of the golden sword rainbow, turning into black earth elements that filled the sky. They dissipated in the wind, and the golden sword rainbow burst into pieces. After hitting the target, his power remained unabated, and the light surged in the void, slashing towards Nazio. Where did the attack come from? Theo couldn't help but be shocked. Such a powerful attack made him, a 9th level peak Holy Spirit Master, feel a huge threat. Huh! A huge battle axe suddenly appeared in his hand. It was a huge axe, with an extremely ferocious shape. It was completely black and had countless strange lines engraved on it. It didn't seem like the words of this world. The picture looks like a painting, extremely strange. Theo held a ferocious battle axe and aimed at the golden sword rainbow and struck it directly. Pung! The golden sword rainbow collided with the black battle axe. Theo's figure suddenly retreated in the void, and he felt huge numbness in his right hand. In the air, a middle-aged man wearing a golden robe with golden light flowing all over his body was suspended in the air, guarding Yulia, Archimedes, and Loken, and confronting Theo coldly. It's Renault. Who are you? In the sky, Theo's face was cold. The person's powerful strength made him a little troublesome, but when he felt the opponent's level, he was stunned. The middle-aged man in golden robe who had previously shattered his elemental palm and knocked him back turned out to be only a 9th level advanced Holy Spirit Master. Reno. Lord Reno. Behind Reno, Yulia and Archimedes shouted excitedly. Down below, many people who were alerted by the fighting here and watching from a distance, the heart that was originally lifted suddenly dropped. Yuan Bai was excited. Didn't all the powerful people in Stern Continent attend the birthday of the god? I really didn't expect, that there would be a 9th level high-level Holy Spirit Master in this chaos territory. It's really shocking. It's unexpected. Theo looked at Renaud and said coldly, unfortunately, in front of me, Theo, no matter who you are, if you dare to resist me, you will only die. Theo said indifferently, holding in his hand as soon as he raised his ferocious battle axe, a terrifying aura like a demon coming to the world rose up from his body. On the black horn above his head, black halos dispersed, and the whole person seemed to have changed in an instant, exuding more terrifying pressure. It's so scary. Yulia's face changed instantly, and she looked at Renaud with concern. Reynold, be careful, this guy is too weird. I don't know where he came from. The 9th level peak Holy Spirit Master. They are rare in the mainland, but it doesn't matter. No matter who he is or how strong he is going to die. Renaud waved his hand, but his face was calm. Obviously he didn't care about Theo at all. Take it seriously. Huh? Renaud's indifferent state completely angered Theo. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and he smiled angrily. Okay, very good, your name is Renaud, right? You probably think you just blocked my attack and you can fight me. It's ridiculous, it's simply ridiculous. You are so arrogant. If I don't kill you today, if word spreads, where will my reputation as a savage war saint be in the future? Theo sneered. His body suddenly swelled, and the muscles all over his body were bulging. His whole figure seemed to have grown one size larger. His body that was originally 3 meters high now became a full 4 meters, like a hill, raised the ferocious battle axe high in his hand, aimed at Renaud, and struck with the axe. The barbarian god Xuanji axe breaks the sky one by one. Theo shouted, the terrifying aura shook the 9 heavens and the earth, and the terrifying shadow of the axe instantly fell on the heads of Renaud and others. Boom! The monstrous earth elemental aura was violent, and the void was shattered layer by layer. It was impossible to withstand such a terrifying aura. The powerful power caused Yulia and others to completely change their color, and their bodies could not even move. Renaud, far away, Yulia's face turned pale and she trembled. However, the strange thing was that Renaud on the side was looking at the falling axe shadow indifferently. He stood there proudly, without any trace of fear. His actions and eyes were extremely dull. You are looking for death. Renaud's disdainful and indifferent attitude completely angered Theo. He roared in his mouth and chopped down the ferocious battle axe in his hand with all his strength. At the moment when the tomahawk was about to hit Renaud and others, they all boomed. Suddenly, the void above Renaud and others shattered instantly, revealing a huge space crack. In the dark space hole, a huge golden claw quietly emerged. This golden claw has a total of 4 toes, each of which is several feet long. The claws are covered with pieces of round and huge golden scales. These scales are purple gold all over, exuding a shining light, and countless great laws are in it. The golden scales flowing on it give people a feeling of boundless depth and grandeur, especially the nails on the sharp claws, which are as translucent and eternal as diamonds, with golden halos flowing around. The golden claws protruded from the void, just like the 9 heavens dragon protruding its claws from the clouds, and hit the huge black axe shadow with one claw. Boom! It was like a stone hit tofu. Wherever the golden claws passed, the black axe image was shattered like paper and exploded instantly. What? Theo's whole body was thrown away, and the strong muscles on his body burst instantly, splattering blood. There was horror in his eyes, and he couldn't believe that his strongest blow could actually be hit by the golden claws that suddenly appeared, broke instantly without any difficulty. Impossible, this is impossible. As a savage war saint and a 9th level peak Holy Spirit Master, I explode with all my strength. Even Gareth, who is known as the demigod, cannot easily defeat my axe to break the sky, but this golden wind. Theo was shocked and kept mumbling. His thinking almost completely confused. In the void, strong energy surged. When Theo was shocked, the golden claws smashed the huge black axe shadow and continued unabated. It was invincible and directly captured Theo. Ah! Theo ignored the shock and roared. Explosions occurred continuously on his body. He tried to break away from the golden claws, but it was useless. Under the golden claws, Zio, who was a ninth-level peak Holy Spirit Master, like a chick under the talons of an eagle, it was easily rolled up. Reno, I took this kid away. He needs to be interrogated properly. You can stay in the City of Chaos. After the golden claws took hold of Theo, they slowly withdrew it and disappeared into the void. At the same time, a rumbling voice also echoed over the entire chaotic city. Yes, Lord Phils. Renault bowed slightly to the location of the cloud swamp, and then said. This Yulia, Archimedes, Loken and others all looked at Renault in astonishment. Reynold, this Lord Phils Rushin, guardian of Jintong Palace. Renault explained, and immediately looked at Yulia and others said with concern, Yulia, you are all injured, let's go down first. Yeah. Even though Yulia and the others had thousands of words in their hearts, they all saved them at this time. The four of them it turned into 4 streams of light and descended directly. At the same time, somewhere in the deepest part of the cloud swamp. Who are you? Theo shouted coldly as his whole body was wrapped in golden aurora. In front of him a man wearing a golden robe, with long golden hair, even his eyebrows and eyes were golden, looking at him indifferently. You must be from the barbarian tribe of the God Realm, right? The man with golden eyes said coldly. What, Ga, how do you know? The golden-eyed man's words shocked Theo, and there was horror in his eyes. Sure enough. The golden-eyed man's eyes suddenly became sharp. In the God Realm, after so many years, it has really not stopped taking action. Finally, people were sent to Stern. You, who are you? Passed by after such a long time, Theo's face slowly returned to calm. He looked at the golden-eyed man coldly. Since you know that I come from the God Realm and that I belong to the barbarian clan, you still dare to do this to me. Judging from your previous methods, you should also be a God-level powerhouse, right? If you dare to attack me, I, the barbarian god of the barbarian tribe, will never let you go. I think you should let me go, so as not to get hurt. The timing is wrong. Although Theo was worried in his heart, his expression was pretending to be calm and he spoke coldly. Barbarian god, hum. After the golden-eyed man heard Theo's words, his golden pupils shrank instantly, and he burst out with an indescribable fierce momentum. Tisk. 2 golden sword rainbows burst out from his eyes and shot directly at Theo's body. Theo's eyes suddenly widened, showing horror and disbelief. Obviously, he didn't expect that the golden-eyed man would attack without warning. The next moment, pong. Theo's whole body exploded. It opened and turned into powder all over the sky, dissipating in the wind, leaving nothing behind. Barbarian God Lon, if you dare to come to Stern Continent, I, Phils, will kill you even if you are shattered into pieces, to avenge my master, ah. The golden-eyed man gritted his teeth, and his eyes showed UNB's hatred. Under the powerful aura he released, the surrounding void was shattered layer by layer, then bridged, and then shattered and bridged again, over and over again, like the end of the world, so crazy. It wasn't until a long time that the man with golden eyes gradually calmed down. Lord Brought is right. The God Realm has indeed sent strong men down. However, I don't know how many strong men there are on the Stern Continent that day. Damn it, if we need to guard this place. The heart of the continent cannot leave its own territory at will and privately. I, Phils, must kill all those bastards in the God Realm. The golden-eyed man said with a fierce look in his eyes, as if something was stagnating in his body. Endless rage. Tens of thousands of years, instead of lessening his hatred, it has become stronger and stronger. Fortunately, I finally found the inheritor for my master. When the time comes, I can finally go there with peace of mind. The man with golden eyes murmured, and disappeared in a flash. The territory of chaos, the city of chaos, the residence of the Kongsi family. Renault, who had just escaped from danger, was with Yulia, Archimedes, Loken and others, talking about his inheritance trials in the past 2 years. And when Renault and Yulia reunited, Battlefield of the Gods, Central Area. Huh. Jason, who kept flying towards the depths of the central area, suddenly took out the water-type god's shard from the God of War tower, and then inserted it into his own body. He was also extremely curious about this fragment of divine law, wanting to see what kind of changes it had on the spiritual master. Buzz. Just when the water element fragments entered Jason's body, a sudden change occurred. Buzz. As soon as the fragment C of the blue water god was driven into Jason's body, the strange black power in Jason's body suddenly violently moved. Wow. The strange black power that was originally dormant in Jason's body and needed to be mobilized with all his strength to use the spiritual god art, the god-destroying killing art or the god of war art, at this moment, seemed to be encountered. The hungry wolves of the sheep flock, like a tide, swallowed up the fragments of the divine law. A large amount of black weird power enveloped the fragments of the divine law, just like metal being thrown into hydrochloric acid. There was a hissing sound from the fragments of the divine law, and countless water laws continued to escape from it. At a very fast speed, the size of the fragments of God's rule, which was originally about the size of a fingernail, was reduced by 1/10. Sensing this scene, Jason's face showed shock. The divine rule fragments are part of the law god chain within the body of the ancient spiritual god. They are the most basic unit that constitutes the complete law god chain. It can be said that they are the true law crystallization of a spiritual god. Its solidity is incomparable. It is large and extremely tight. To refine a piece of God's law, even a 9th level high-level, peak Holy Spirit master will need at least several months, but soon, in just a moment, the God's law shard shrank. 1/10 of the refining speed made Jason completely stunned, but at this moment, he couldn't think too much. A large number of profound laws of the water system, like a tide, kept spewing out from the fragments of the divine laws. It came out and merged into the water spiritual power in Jason's body. Each of the 10th level spiritual gods has perfected their own laws to perfection. They have extremely great attainments in attribute laws. Even the law contained in a fragment of the divine law, for a 9th level advanced person, even the peak Holy Spirit masters have been extremely helpful, and Jason has also benefited a lot. For a time, a large number of water law laws floated in Jason's mind, and with a rumble, a large number of water law laws and spiritual power rolled in the void like a tide, constantly pouring into Jason's body. No wonder Master Atkinson and the others are so eager for this piece of God's law. The mystery of the law and the way of the law contained in it are so profound and refined that even one as big as a fingernail will. It's incredible to give a spiritual master of this level a huge amount of inspiration and help to bring him one step closer to strength. Feeling the large number of laws floating in his mind, Jason murmured, full of emotion. This piece of God's law allowed him to understand the laws of water more deeply. Jason could even feel it. If it weren't for the constraints of the other 4 attributes, just the laws contained in this piece of God's law would. With this power, he can reach the realm of 9 price advanced Holy Spirit Master in terms of water laws. Time passed bit by bit, and the fragment of the God's code in Jason's body quickly dissolved under the wash of the black strange power, and melted into Jason's body. About half an hour later, the God's code the fragments were completely refined and disappeared. Huh? When the fragments of the divine code completely dissipated, Jason unexpectedly discovered that there was a strange rune exuding a terrifying divine aura. After the fragments of the divine code disappeared, it appeared in Jason's body. Within. This is this? Jason was confused, and his spiritual sense quickly swept over the strange runes. Boom! A strong divine power rushed into Jason's mind, causing Jason's body to tremble and almost fall from the air. It's so weird. Why does this rune have such a terrifying aura of divine power? It seems that all the divine aura and divine power on the previous fragment of the divine rule came from this rune. What is this? Jason was surprised and didn't understand what this strange rune was. The laws that were refined from the fragments of the divine law before were only the mysterious laws of the water system. Could it be that this rune is the true origin of a spiritual god? If you understand this, you can detect the realm of the gods? Jason murmured in his mouth, but at this moment Buzz. As if he felt the impact of the strange rune's power, the water spirit beads in Jason's mind quickly spun, and at the same time a strange power escaped from it, directly covering the on top of that weird rune. Phew! This strange rune suddenly flowed through Jason's body, entered Jason's mind, and then flew into the water spirit bead like lightning. Boom! The rune entered, and an unparalleled terrifying aura suddenly erupted from the water spirit bead. This aura was extremely powerful. The water spirit bead in Jason's mind suddenly bloomed with infinite cyan light. At the same time, Jason vaguely seemed to see that in the depths of the water spirit bead, there were strange words appearing one after another. In addition to the words, there were also blurry pictures that were constantly evolving, as if there was something engraved in them. However, these words and pictures were extremely blurry, and they flashed past extremely fast. Before Jason could see anything, those words and pictures had dimmed and disappeared. At the same time, the entire Shui Lingzhu returned to normal. The one before seemed to be some kind of formula and technique. Jason murmured, his eyes flashing with excitement. Although he had not seen these words and pictures clearly before, he had always been deeply aware of the power of the four spiritual beads. The things engraved in their depths, even if they were not formulas and techniques, were definitely some kind of incomparable reversal. Heavenly stuff. The fragments of God's rule. As long as you get the fragments of God's rule, can the things in this spirit bead be revealed? Then, do the other three spirit beads also have something engraved in them? Jason's eyes were shining and his expression was exciting. In Jason's mind, the four spirit beads were still spinning slowly, but Jason felt that after absorbing the strange rune, the water spirit beads seemed different from before, as if they were more energetic. Compared with the other three spirit beads, the aura seems to have improved, suppressing the other three spirit beads. It's just that this change is extremely subtle, and Jason only has a vague feeling, unable to feel any obvious changes. What kind of secret does this 5-element spiritual pearl contain? And where will the last fire spiritual pearl be? Jason thought in his heart, then raised his head and looked at the deep and distant objects in the distance. God's battlefield. No matter what, for me now, the only thing I need to do most urgently is to find more fragments of the gods. Huh. A figure flew quickly over the vast battlefield of the gods. Here is a plain, with some messy unknown green grass growing on the ground and swaying in the wind. Huh? Suddenly, the figure's eyes fell on the center of a pile of grass on the ground not far away. There was a circular area with no grass growing on it, which looked extremely special on the plain covered with green grass. And there in the center of the grassless open space, there is a plant with 4 semi-ovals growing. Whoosh! The figure flying in the sky suddenly swept down, carefully picked the grass, and then rose into the sky again. Another 8th-level Emperor-level elixir was collected. Judging from the color of this 4-leaf dragon's memory grass, it should be thousands of years old. In this place with rich spiritual energy, it is possible that it will transform into a 9th-level elixir in a few hundred years. The holy medicine. The black-haired young man looked at the 4-leaf clover in his hand and murmured, then after storing it, he looked towards the distant sky. This black-haired young man is none other than Jason, who is searching for fragments of the God's law alone in the central area. It's been more than half a month since I came to the central area. Except for the fragment of the God's code at the beginning, I haven't encountered any of them so far. Jason flew across the sky, frowning slightly. Jason has been searching in the central area since the refining of the divine fragment. However, more than half a month has passed, and the second divine fragment has not been found yet. But Jason couldn't help it. The birth of this piece of God's rule depended entirely on luck, and there were no rules to follow. On the last few gods' birthdays, there were even strong men searching for them in the central area for more than half a year. Not even a fragment of the divine law was found, and this is not something that has never happened before. However, although I didn't find any fragments of the gods' rule, because the spiritual elements of the battlefield of gods are extremely rich and there are a lot of elixirs growing there, I did find dozens of 8th level emperor level elixirs, and even 2 9th level elixirs. A holy elixir. Jason couldn't help but laugh at himself. In the past half-month or almost a month, he had not gained anything at all. Only with his keen perception of elixir materials, he still found it. Some secret rare elixirs, and even 2 9th level holy elixirs. But what is helpless is that with Pegason's current strength, these 9th level holy medicines, except for a slight increase in his combat power after being formulated into an elixir, have not done much to improve Jason's strength. Keep looking, Jason said silently in his heart and continued to search in the endless wilderness. And thousands of miles away from Jason. Whoosh! A black figure also flew away in the direction Jason flew from. It's been more than a month, and I haven't even found a fragment of the divine law. Instead, I almost died here. It's really abominable. I can feel it. I am only a tiny bit away from the 9th level peak Holy Spirit Master. If I can get such a piece of God's law, I will be able to advance. When the time comes, my city of sin will definitely be superior to the other major forces. This is a figure wearing a black cloak, exuding an astonishing aura. The aura is none other than Scott, the Lord of Sin in Sin City. He searched for a whole month in the central area, but couldn't find even a fragment of the God's law. Instead, he was unlucky enough to encounter a terrifying spiritual beast with 9th level peak strength. He tried his best to escape. Almost didn't die. Huh? However, just when Scott was anxious, suddenly, a hole of several meters directly appeared on the plain ahead. Why is there a hole on this plain? Is it a lair where some spiritual beast lives? Scott's heart suddenly rose, and he was alert and flew past the hole silently. However, just as he passed over the entrance of the cave, he seemed to sense something. His figure suddenly stopped, and his eyes looked towards the entrance of the cave with excitement. His mouth trembled. From the hole, he felt an extremely strong divine aura. This divine aura he had felt on the last birthday of the god. However, it was the aura of the fragment of God. There are fragments of God's law deep in the cave entrance. Scott exclaimed in a low voice, with a hint of excitement and surprise in his eyes. God's rule fragment. As long as I get a God's rule fragment that belongs to my own attributes, I can advance to the 9th level of the peak Holy Spirit Master. Scott's whole body even trembled slightly because of his excitement, but his eyes were alert, and he did not lose his mind because of the ecstasy of discovering the fragments of the God's rule. The fragments of the God's rule are extremely rare. Not only for us, the many powerful people who participated in the God's birthday day are also in great need of the many powerful spiritual beasts on the battlefield of the gods. This cave is so weird, I have to be careful. Scott was secretly alert. Chong. The world-destroying knife, which is a heaven-level spiritual weapon, was instantly held in his hand. The powerful fire spiritual power circulated in his body. Scott's body fell suddenly, and he slowly entered the hole, cautiously. Explore forward. There is almost no light in the dark cave entrance, but with the strength of Scott's 9th level senior Holy Spirit Master, he can see clearly in this dark place. There is no clue about the entire deep underground cave. How deep? Scott descended slowly, and after a moment, he had descended hundreds of meters. Because of nervousness, Scott's right hand holding the world-destroying knife was faintly sweating. He was not nervous. Instead, he was alert to the possible dangers in the cave. If there was a spiritual beast with peak 9th level strength that he encountered 10 days ago in this cave, he might not even be able to escape in this narrow cave. It was extremely difficult. However, just when Scott was sweating, the hole, that was originally only a few meters in diameter, suddenly opened up, and appeared in front of Scott. It was a cave about several meters high and long. There are strange caves hundreds of meters wide. In this cave, there are countless jagged rocks and sharp stalactites hanging from the top of the cave, giving people a weird and strange feeling. There are no spiritual beasts. The first time after Scott entered the cave, he quickly scanned the entire cave. When he did not find the spiritual beast, he who was originally frightened, extremely nervous, and always tense, suddenly couldn't help but let out a long breath. He breathed, as if a stone fell to the ground in his heart. However, before Scott could completely exhale, his slightly relaxed face suddenly became glazed over, and his eyes were full of shock, excitement, disbelief and many other emotions. Suddenly, he landed in the center of the hole, not far away, and his whole body trembled involuntarily. "Oh my God, if this is," Scott murmured, his eyes widened due to excitement, his mouth was slightly open, and he couldn't even speak. In front of him, in the center of the cave, soft red rays of light were constantly tumbling. Countless divine radiances were like gorgeous light strips. The rich aura made he, a 9th-level senior Holy Spirit Master, felt extremely shocked from deep in his heart. He looked extremely small in front of these red light bands. Whoosh! Scott's body flashed quickly and came to the red light belt. On the ground in front of him was an extremely smooth rock, and on the rock, there were some red inscriptions carved with a small part. Crystal stones. These red crystal stones are linked together to form a complete divine chain, embedded on the flat rock slab. Say it turns out to be like it is a complete divine chain of laws, and it is also a fire attribute. Scott felt like he was about to hold his breath, and was confused for a while. According to common sense, in this central area, there are usually only some fragments of divine laws. This complete divine chain of laws can only be found in the core area of the battlefield of the gods. It is possible, but the core area is too dangerous. After generations of exploration, everyone understands this. Although Scott is a 9th-level advanced Holy Spirit Master, he does not dare to enter the core area. Now, in a cave in the central area, he unexpectedly found the complete law god chain, which made him completely sluggish and his mind went blank. What does this mean? The law god chain is the essence of a spiritual god's life, is a spiritual god's complete understanding of the laws of attributes, and represents the supreme secret of the law. Once you obtain a complete law god chain, you will be equivalent to gaining all the law insights of a spiritual god-level powerhouse. Of course, you must only a 9th-level Holy Spirit Master can have the possibility of refining the divine law chain. The stronger the strength, the faster the refining. It can be said that if a 9th-level Holy Spirit Master of the fire system can obtain a divine chain of law, then as long as he absorbs this law god chain and completely refines it, he may break through to the 10th-level spiritual god in one fell swoop. 10th-level spiritual god, 10th-level spiritual god. Scott felt his body shaking slightly. That's not right. However, when Scott stared at the past again, he discovered something was wrong. This law chain is not complete and is damaged. Scott keenly discovered that there were many cracks on some of the fragments of the divine law chain. Some of them were half embedded in the stone slab. He was careless at first and didn't see clearly. Now, after taking a closer look, he discovered that some other parts hidden in the stone slabs are damaged and incomplete. This law chain is about a quarter damaged, but even so, it can allow me to break through from the 10th level to at least the advanced level. The demigod realm beyond the 9th level peak Holy Spirit Master. Scott thought. In fact, in the spiritual master level, there is no level of demigod. However, sometimes when a 9th level spiritual master breaks through again, he may not be able to advance to the 10th level. Instead, he has entered a state that has surpassed the 9th level peak, but has not become a 10th level spiritual god. Instead, he is only one step away from the spiritual god. This state, in the mouth of ordinary people, is called half-level god. Even if I am a demigod, it is enough for me to become the strongest in the Stern Continent. I can defeat Atkinson Tower Master and the others and make Sin City the strongest force in the Stern Continent. Scott was still excited. Phew! His right hand stretched out suddenly, grabbing the flat stone slab on the ground, trying to take out the law chain from the rock. However, just as he exerted force, a faint burst of red light suddenly flowed on the stone slab. Scott only felt a powerful force rushing over, shaking his body to pieces, and then the red air flowed and he recovered again. Damn, I forgot. In this battlefield of the gods, no matter whether it is the rules of the gods, either the fragment or the divine chain of laws must wait until it is completely born before it can be taken. Scott's heart couldn't help but sink. How long will it take to wait until this law chain is completely born? Scott was a little anxious. This law god chain is so complete. Less than a third of it has only been unearthed now. I'm afraid it will take at least several hours, or even a day, to be completely revealed. If it is destroyed during this process, if other people or other spiritual beasts search for it, then Scott was extremely worried, but there was nothing he could do about it. This fragment of God was like this. Before it was born, it would be completely hidden. No matter how strong a person was, it would not be able to sense it. However, at a certain time, it will be born on its own. This process often takes several hours to several days. The divine aura exuded will attract a large number of spiritual beasts around it. Fortunately, this divine chain of laws is hidden underground, and the divine aura it exudes would be difficult to find if people flying by on the plane were not lucky. Before, if I had not flown from above the cave entrance, it's impossible to find someone passing by. I hope no one will pass by during this period. Although Scott was anxious, he had no choice but to silently guard in the distance, waiting for the god of law. The complete birth of the chain is even more praying not to be discovered by others. By the way, if I block the entrance to the cave, the possibility of being discovered here will be drastically reduced. Scott's eyes lit up as he recalled the reason why he discovered this cave before. In this battlefield of the gods, everyone's spiritual consciousness is completely restricted, and can be scattered up to a distance of more than 10 meters. Therefore, here, the naked eye is more effective than spiritual consciousness, and the observation range is larger, and almost everyone healers search with their naked eyes. If they block the entrance of the cave and do not attract other people's attention, the possibility of others discovering this place will be greatly reduced. As soon as he thought of it, Scott quickly rushed out of the hole, and then found some soil and rocks to cover the entrance of the hole. He even moved some weeds from other places and planted them on top, trying to make it perfect. Finally, Scott broke through a small hole in a place overgrown with tall weeds, drilled into the ground, and returned to the cave, waiting for the birth of the law god chain. While Scott was waiting anxiously for the law divine chain to be completely born underground, he was on the plain thousands of miles away from here. Whoosh! Jason was thinking about the direction of Scott and flew away quickly, carefully searching every inch of Josiah's land. The overgrown ground was desolate. Because it was all about searching with the naked eye, Jason's search speed was not very fast. However, this so-called not fast was compared to Jason's flying speed when he was on Stern Continent. At such a speed, it can fly over hundreds of kilometers every hour. A few hours later, Jason had arrived at the area where Scott was, but with his naked eyes, Jason didn't notice anything and quietly flew past the area. Ground. Scott is anxiously waiting for the birth of the law god chain. For him now, every second seems like a century. Boom! Suddenly, a powerful divine aura suddenly erupted from the divine chain of laws, spreading in all directions. Scott clenched his fists in excitement. It's almost time. 90% of this law divine chain has been born. In less than half an hour, I'm afraid it will be completely born. Scott's body was shaking with excitement. However, what Scott didn't know was that at this moment, Jason, who had just passed over his head and was speeding towards the distance, seemed to feel something keenly. The high-speed flying figure was in the void. Suddenly stopped. Just now, it seemed that divinity and breath emerged from the ground. In the void, Jason's figure suddenly stopped, his brows furrowed. Previously, he vaguely felt a trace of divine aura, which made his whole body excited. In this battlefield of gods, if he felt a divine aura, there was only one possibility, that is, if there is a god, then the fragments will be born. Huh. Jason quickly descended from the sky and landed on the ground while looking around. The divine aura just now was not very powerful, and there was no light blooming around the plane. However, I clearly felt that aura. There could be no mistake. At this moment, there was silence on the plain, except for bursts of light. The breeze blew through the grassland, blowing many weeds as tall as a person, but Jason felt extremely sure in his heart. Immediately, Jason started searching on the plain. No, nothing unusual. Jason quickly passed dozens of meters above the plain, but found nothing. Isn't it possible? Huh? Suddenly, Jason was stunned and looked at that place. There, some weeds were growing in disorder. If he were an ordinary spiritual master, he might not see anything when he saw this place. It felt like, but as a 9th level elixir master, Jason noticed something was wrong at a glance. The growth state of these weeds is too weird. It is definitely not possible for normal growth to occur like this. Jason landed quickly and came to the weeds. This is taking a closer look. Jason couldn't help but smile. With such a close observation, he immediately discovered something was wrong with this area. These weeds were obviously transplanted from other places. Although the other party was very careful, but in front of Jason, a 9th level elixir master, such a poor disguise was still seen through by him at a glance. Moreover, Jason could faintly feel that there was a trace of Bo's divine aura constantly coming from the depths of the weeds. There are fragments of the gods under the ground, and it's obvious that someone discovered this place and tried to hide it. In this case, it should not be the spiritual beasts in the battlefield of the gods, but the strong men from the mainland who participated in the day of the god's birth. Jason I immediately thought about it and got closer to the truth. In that case, Jason immediately pulled out the black heavy sword from behind, and instantly dived into the ground. Bang! The soil shattered, and Jason came into the passage. I don't know who discovered this fragment of the god's law. It would be better if it was the master of Bispham Tower and the others, but if it was the master of Atkinson Tower, Jason's eyes flashed with murderous intent. With Jason's current strength, even if he met the Atkinson Tower master, he would not be afraid at all. Immediately, he quietly swept towards the depths of the ground. Underground, Scott, the Lord of Evil, is anxiously waiting for the birth of the Law God Chain. It's coming, there's still a while, the Law Divine Chain will be born soon. Scott held the world-destroying knife tightly in his hand, with an anxious and excited look in his eyes. Buzz. On the stone slab in front of him, countless red rays of light bloomed, turning into streaks of aurora. They were so gorgeous and beautiful that the entire cave was reflected in red. Most of the divine chains of laws on the stone slab had been completely squeezed. The stone slabs are connected together, like a beautiful chain of gods, with countless flame laws flowing on it, which is astonishingly profound. It's Scott. While Scott was extremely nervous, waiting in front of the Law God Chain, and his mind was completely on the Law God Chain, Jason quietly came to the cave and discovered everything here. It turns out it's him. Jason sneered in his heart. He would never forget that when they were in the Cloud Swamp, Scott, the Lord of Sin, took action against a group of them. Jason, who was an 8th level low-level emperor spiritual master at the time, simply couldn't. It was difficult to resist, and he could only watch helplessly as his father, Wayne and the others were firmly imprisoned by Scott and killed at will. If it hadn't been for the guardians of Jintong Palace appearing at the last moment and repelling Scott, Jason and the others might have died in the Cloud Swamp at that time. Moreover, during the Genius Trial, the City of Sin also had a hand in colluding with the Spiritual Master Tower to attack and kill many powerful men in the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower. Such a strong fire-type divine aura, it should be the fire-type divine law fragments. Jason thought in his heart, because Scott's back was turned to him, blocking the place where the Law God Chain was, and the place where the Law God Chain was located. The terrain was low, and Jason didn't see the Law of God Chain clearly. Scott seems to be waiting. It seems that the fragment of the god's rule has not been born yet. I will wait for the time being. I can't scare the snake. I will wait until the moment the god's rule fragment is born before I take action to snatch it away. Jason's heart he planned secretly and lurked quietly aside. With Jason's strength, even if he takes action now, he can kill Scott, but the battle between the two will definitely produce huge spiritual power fluctuations, which will attract some powerful spiritual beasts. Jason could only lurk and wait for the fragment of the god to be completely released before taking action. And Scott's mind was completely attracted by the divine chain at this time, and he didn't even notice Jason, who had been hiding aside for a long time. Time passed by bit, and Scott was completely attracted by the emergence of the law divine chain, his eyes never blinking. It's coming soon, in a while, the divine chain of laws will be born. When I get the divine chain of laws, I will immediately return to the outer area and refine the divine chain of laws until the birth of the god. At the end of the day, I will be promoted to demigod, and when I return to Stern Continent, then Scott couldn't help but be excited as he imagined his improvement after getting the law god chain. Boom! Suddenly, a terrible breath came from the stone slab in front of Scott, and a law-like chain shining with bright rays of light completely broke free from the stone slab, suddenly rose into the sky, and floated at the very top of the burrow. Countless fiery red rays of light rolled in all directions like a tidal wave. The entire cave was completely surrounded by the element of fire. An extremely rich divine aura spread out. Countless runes and Tao patterns representing the mysteries of the fire element continued. The sparkle engulfs everything. This law divine chain is finally born. It's great, haha. Scott couldn't help being ecstatic in his heart, and he spoke with excitement. Whoosh! His figure soared into the sky and grabbed the divine chain of laws. Just when he was about to take the divine chains of laws into his hands one by one, a black stream of light suddenly appeared in the cave. It was as fast as lightning and passed over Scott's head. The next moment, Scott's big hand suddenly grabbed the empty space, which was originally suspended in the cave. The divine chain of laws in it has disappeared. What? Such an unexpected scene shocked Scott completely. His heart sank hard, his mind was confused, and he almost felt desperate. In the past few hours, he has been waiting here. From the surprise when he discovered the divine chain of law, to the anxiety while waiting, to the ecstasy when he was finally born, to the confusion and despair now, his heart has experienced ups and downs. That kind of the intense stimulation made it almost difficult for him to admit it for a while. Who is it? Who is it? The next moment, he couldn't help but roar, his eyes suddenly turned red, and he looked fiercely at the black figure who had snatched the principal god chain. At this moment, he had no thoughts in his mind, only one, that no matter who was snatching away his divine chain of laws, he would cut him into pieces and take back what was his own. Is it you? Jason. Scott's eyes fell hard on the black figure. After discovering his true identity, Scott couldn't help but be stunned, and then, there was an extremely strong murderous aura, diffused from him. This is the fire law divine chain? On the other side of the cave, Jason snatched it and was stunned when he saw what was in his hand. In his heart, he always thought that what Scott was waiting for was just a fragment of the god of law, but he did not expect that it was such a complete god of law chain, which shocked Jason. He knew the value of the god of law chain clearly. I didn't expect that in this central area, I could actually get the divine chain of laws. A smile broke out on Jason's face. This unexpected joy made him extremely excited. Damn it, this law god chain belongs to me, brat, you are looking for death. Faced with the law god chain being taken away, Scott was completely furious in his heart. He didn't say any nonsense and roared out, and shot directly at Jason. Boom! A stream of red flaming sword light burst out from the world-destroying knife in Scott's hand. The terrifying sword light swept everything, carrying unparalleled terrifying pressure, and swept directly towards Jason. Terrifying, the spiritual power surged and was about to split Jason in half in an instant. Huh? Jason glanced up at Scott. Bang! Jason's figure suddenly shot into the sky, submerged into the rocks at the top of the cave, and rushed upwards quickly. Boom! The terrifying flaming sword slashed directly on one side of the cave. A huge roar sounded, and the rocks in the cave collapsed instantly. Where to go? Scott roared, swung the world-destroying knife in his hand, and only rushed into the top of the cave, rushing towards the surface of the earth. On the plain of the battlefield of the gods, there was a gentle breeze and everything was calm. Suddenly, pung! Pung! A dull explosion sounded. One after another, two figures exuding terrifying spiritual power rushed out of the ground instantly and stayed in the heavenly banquet. Haha, Scott, I didn't expect that you would find such a divine chain of laws. It's incredible. In this central area, there would be such a complete divine chain of laws, which is enough for a 9th-level fire-type Holy Spirit. Master, you have at least reached the peak of the 9th level. I will accept such a treasure. I am really grateful for your generosity, haha. In the void, Jason dragged the magic chain away and put it away with a slight smile on his face. Make a sound.